And here we are again. This week we have none other than Mr. Jason Sloan, the networking expert.
I don't know about expert, but I know a little bit about networking. And honestly, most people do networking and they don't really realize it. So we'll go into that and some other stuff. And I think some stuff on my background as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We want all the details, specifically on how you really put yourself out there. I mean, this whole concept, doing the lives, this was your idea. And I think it brings so much value to the industry because not only do we present very valuable information that many can benefit from, but we also bring to the table guests such as yourself who have so much experience. So I am so happy to have you here today.
Oh, because I'm not here every week.
Yeah. You know what I mean? This time
yes,
it's different. This
true.
time the light is on you. So first question, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. What is your background and your experience?
So I'm going to put this in the Reader's Digest version.
Perfect.
So I grew up in a family business. My grandfather and my father owned Sloan's transmission business. I worked at the warehouse when I was 10, and I hate working on cars because of that. So every once in a while, I will do simple stuff on cars, but I don't like to wrench hard because I had to rebuild transmissions with my dad and stuff like that. So, but then he got into real estate. I assisted him. I went to school at the Career Education Center in Denver, Colorado. I went for construction trades was my main thing. Also learned welding, and a little bit of engineering. So just a lot of stuff, but construction was my main forte. I learned that evidently you either need to be white or Mexicano to be good at welding. You can't be a half breed or a quarter breed because I'm horrible at welding. So I actually, the teacher, he hated math. So all I had to do was teach a math class once a week and I passed the class. Yeah. I'm kind of good at, working the system. So as far as I can. Then I got into doing construction. I did a little bit of everything. When I was between my junior and senior year, I did electrical. It was okay, but I didn't love it. I worked for a GC and a lot of different stuff. And then I kind of fell into roofing years later because I had a window in the construction business, and windows kind of slowed down in Colorado. It was like a huge boom in Colorado and a lot of other places. And then everybody had their windows replaced. So nobody was replacing windows. Oh, I already have vinyl windows. I don't need them. Now people are replacing their builder grade on new construction after a few years because they're not great windows. They're not much better than aluminum or steel windows. So people are upgrading those as well. And a lot of people now, they have a little bit of money, so they're fixing stuff. They're doing Airbnbs in their basements and stuff. Right. So like my brother, he does windows still. But I started doing extra trades for a roofing company. They went out of business, and so we took over everything years ago. And I got into roofing, but we didn't know anything about supplements then. I got out and started doing other stuff. Mortgages at a bail bond company also. And then I got back into roofing because it was like, okay, every year there's a hailstorm in Colorado. At least there used to be in Denver. We'll talk about that later. But I mean, it was if you could grind it and go knock doors and stuff, you'd make money. It was if you hit 100 doors, you're probably gonna make one sale. Obviously, if you hit 100 doors and they all had signs, then you're kind of not very smart. But if you're in a neighborhood that doesn't have signs and stuff, then you're going to be good.
Right.
So, and basically once you get that one sale, then you can just keep pushing and stuff. And that's part of network also. Hey, Mrs. Smith up the street just started working with us. Do you know her? She's at this address. And that's a form of networking also. Not the same, but you get one neighbor, you put a sign in. Guess what? You go to this other guy and the other guy, and some people are saying, I'm waiting. So you go back and you say, hey, this is the person I'm working with. Yeah, across the street and everything. And you can use that, not just you, but your company, and you can take over a neighborhood. I remember when I started working with Kyle, he wanted to do like 100 roofs. That first year we did 450 roofs.
450.
Yeah, which some people like, that's no big deal. But they were almost all redecks. We did 4.5 million. About. And so we did a lot of business. And I started off just selling, and then I got into doing supplements with them in management. So I did supplements and ran the business as well, as far as day-to-day helping them out and whatever needed to be done.
Okay.
So that's just who I am. I usually kind of get promoted at most companies just because I just get in there and get stuff done. Otherwise, I don't like businesses to fail. So.
And I think that is a very good trait to shine light to, because you do invest yourself in whatever it is that you're doing. So that brings me to my next point. You are a part of Furtado Law Solutions. So tell us a little bit more about that.
So myself and Kyle and David came up with the idea that because myself and Kyle were doing quite a few litigations, and David liked the way we put files together because he could actually litigate, because we documented stuff. And even before we were using CRMs, we kept track of everything. We had notes in Google on the calendar. We would just move stuff along. Like, it was kind of like when you do a task and stuff with the CRM. So we had a file system on our network, and we just had the files built, and we'd send them in. And back then there wasn't too many insurance companies that took emails, so it was a lot of faxing. But I learned how to, I always figure out faster ways to do stuff. So we'd have to print this document off, right? And then we'd have to fax it out. So then I figured out how to do e-faxes. And I figured out there's programs that weren't very expensive, and they would put information at the bottom of each page. So back in the day when you fax stuff in, you had to handwrite the claim number on every single page, right? So one of the things I started doing was, I'm going to start naming this file with the client's name, last name, and the claim number. So it's on every page now, so I don't have to do that. And then all the pages with the pictures and stuff, we would, then they'd send us an email afterwards. I can't see anything. This is black and white. Well, yeah, we called and you didn't give us a stinking email. We told you now pretty much everything's email. And most of them have like a generic email that you send it out. And every once in a while you get companies that have an adjuster and you send it direct to them. But that's not very hard for that stuff. But we had to handwrite on everything. And then I figured out better ways. So I'm always looking at better ways to get stuff done and faster ways, and to get stuff done maybe for a little bit less, so that way the company's making more money. But on Furtado Law Solutions, what I do is I started off as the business development specialist because of my contacts in the industry. I know people and I talk to people, and I can bring on, when we started doing this, because COVID, I know a lot of people, so I could bring in a lot of guests and everything. So some of them say yes, and then it takes them 2-3 months to get on the show, but eventually it happens. So anybody who's watching this and wants to come on our show, contact myself or Elizabeth, and we will we'll get you on the show.
We would
as long as you're a nice person. If you're not a nice person, we're not going to have you.
Absolutely.
So recently, actually, basically right after I flew back to Denver 3 weeks ago, I was tasked to also be the operations person. So I've run a lot of businesses. I fixed a lot of issues. I help other businesses fix their issues. And I kind of am able to dive down, and because I understand the entire business, and there's certain things that I do that I wanted our business to do and we weren't doing. And I'm like, if we're going to keep growing, this is insanity. One of the things we're going to start doing is have scope sheets that everybody has to turn in. And then, obviously you need pictures, but I shouldn't have to look through 100 pictures to write your estimate. If I do, guess what? There should be an extra fee. So that's one of the things we're going to start instituting. And there's a lot of other stuff. We're bringing on this extra staff and we're training them. And it's taken a little bit to set up, which typically happens. It's
Yeah,
not
part of
usually
it.
overnight.
Mhm.
And especially in this market, it's harder to find people. I think it'll be a lot easier once people aren't getting free money from unemployment, but we'll see. But we're building our team. We have a good team so far, and it's getting good.
Mhm.
So yeah, operations and business development. Those are my hats. So I'm one of the executives for Total Law Solutions.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing that. And my next question is, since you first started, what do you feel has changed the most within the industry?
So insurance companies used to be a lot easier to deal with.
Mhm.
So when I was working with Kyle, and then KWL went out of business, um, part of that was because Kyle was trying to do the right thing, have work comp on everybody, and then they came back and it just turned into a fiasco. And then also certain things that I know as far as business, hey, we have to keep bringing on salespeople. We have to keep doing this volume if we're gonna keep this business going. And
Right.
many guys in this industry have seen that. You see these guys, and all of a sudden they went from 2 trucks on a truck to a $20 million company, and then they're out of business again. And that's very unfortunate. And that's kind of why we help companies, and we're looking at them to like control their costs and stuff like that. Just because you have a great year doesn't mean next year is going to be the same. Now, you do want to keep building it, but you want to be reasonable. Just because you have a great year, don't go buy 20 trucks. I've seen that. And then the next year they're out of business, or the next year they're having to like sell everything. And I've seen it so many times, it's ridiculous.
Okay.
So one of the biggest things is just controlling your costs and just getting everything rolling good for all that. But yeah, I mean, and other things, I had my supplement business that I started after KWL, and it was a lot easier to deal with insurance carriers back then. Literally, you gave them the correct information and they took care of stuff. It wasn't a thing where you give them what they need and they still tell you, oh, well, I'm still not doing it. It's like, what's the point? Like in a court of law, if you give them all that you need, typically you're going to win that case. And so that's kind of what FLS is about, is making sure all that's good. And most of the time we don't have to go to court. And honestly, you really don't want to go to court. It's a pain in the butt. It stretches out time. A lot of these lawyers are making it sound all sexy and everything else. And guess what? If you got a huge case and you win and everything's great, it's cool. And for a while, insurance companies were just settling. And then all of a sudden they go, why are we just giving this money away? Let's fight it. They go back to the whole Allstate thing, defend, delay, and that's what they've turned to. Same thing with appraisal. Appraisal works really good, but it's also turned into, hey, everybody's using appraisal. So now all of a sudden there's a lot of insurance companies that are pushing back. We don't have to go to appraisal. So for instance, with us, we have some files that do go to appraisal, and it needs to happen. A lot of times appraisal is the best way. It's better than going to court. And sometimes you go to appraisal and then you go to court because of delay of claim and bad faith and so forth. But it's turned into a thing a lot of these insurance companies are saying no. So then you have to have a lawyer involved to say, hey, actually, here's the law. Appraisal's approved. It's part of, in the state, I don't care if it's not in your contract. It's part of the state law. If you'd like to get sued about this, let's go. And I've actually had cases that that has happened, where we have filed a litigation for one of my clients because the insurance carrier, they refused a reinspection. They refused appraisal. And they just said, we don't believe in it. So we put in a litigation, and we were about to settle for $90,000 on a $30,000 claim. It was going to be great. And 30 minutes before, they go, okay, we'll go to appraisal. At the end of the day, they still paid all the money because at the appraisal, the person we got for the appraiser was really good. Ray Chode, he's a PEA out of Texas. I really respect him. He does residential along with commercial, which most PAs, once they get to a certain point, all they want to do is commercial. And it's like, there's certain people that they need a public adjuster. If an insurance company is not saying there's damage, you've done a reinspect, a PA is really the way to go. And so Ray's a great one. He works across the country. and then there's a few other guys I know and that are really good too. But him, I personally worked with on numerous files for my clients, and I've referred him to numerous companies as well. If there's something where, hey, this is clear damage, or even if it's questionable, hey, hit him up, see it, have him look at the pictures. If he thinks he can get it bought, he'll get it bought. And then, unfortunately, we had one file that the insurance company or the law changed in Colorado, and the PA couldn't be the appraiser, so that file took a little bit longer. But we got that all worked out. The homeowner went from a not getting any money because it was under their deductible to close to $30,000 for an 800 square foot house. We got her interior work done. She got a new roof, gutters, new paint, new shutters. So basically the whole outside of her house was done and the inside was fixed as well. That was damaged. So that worked out really good for her and for most of our clients for both of the businesses. So yeah, so I think that answers that pretty good.
Absolutely. Very, very good. Okay, and before I move on to our next question, one of our viewers says, "Hi guys, hi Monse, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate your views."
Yes.
And let's move on to the next question. So this question is more related to your experience, and you know, in the industry, you can never be fully prepared. But what do you feel that has been the biggest obstacle that you have faced since you started?
Just every once in a while, everything's cruising pretty good, and then you get slapped in the face, and a business goes out of business.
Right.
So when KWL went out of business, that was a huge blow. Because going from making very good money, and I mean, there's many times I was working 20 hours a day, but you get like 3 months off a year in Denver usually. So I was like, I don't care. I'll bust my butt, and then I can just chill. Like I'd go to the beach or whatever, and you know. And we would use that time to look at other stuff and how we could do stuff better. And I think businesses should take time to decompress. You know, especially in this industry, we work very, very hard, long days, you know, and not much sleep a lot of times.
Right.
And, you know, and then we go to these events and everything else. We do these shows because not everybody can go to these events and get this info.
Exactly.
You know, it's no fault of their own, but they're, you know, either they haven't met that level or they have something happen to them. Like they're, you know, or they're just busy. There's certain people that basically work all the time. They really don't take time off. I met guys like that in Georgia, and they're just like, I had no idea. Like when you travel the country and go meet with contractors, you will learn a lot. I didn't know that in Georgia, and obviously there's probably some other parts of the country that are similar. These guys literally are tree trimmers and taking down trees that fall on houses, along with doing the roofs. Like that's just part of their business. They have boom trucks. We don't do that in Colorado. We call it tree service because it doesn't happen all the time. But they have so much wind and then the moisture and everything. And these trees are huge and they fall down. Like when I was driving to meet a contractor in Atlanta one night, the highway, half of it was closed because there was 2 lanes covered by this giant tree, you know? And so you learn all kinds of stuff with all those, but you know, you just got to keep trucking. And sometimes like I've gotten out of the industry and I just keep coming back.
Why? Why do you keep coming
I
back?
either love it or I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't know, but
might be a mix of both.
Yeah, probably a little bit of both. But I mean, it's a challenge at times, and I like that. And also, when you get a big win, you know, it's good too. You know, you put in a claim correctly, and you're not. And we talk about this honesty and supplementing. You put it together correctly, and you get every once in a while you get these adjusters that just get it. It doesn't happen very often, but you get a guy who's been in the industry forever. He has a lot of authority, and it's happened less and less. A lot of these guys are getting out because they're getting their authority taken from them. It's like they have 20 years in the industry, and before they could do $500,000 commercial claims with no problem, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you have to ask to get everything approved. Like I would probably quit also if literally like I had no freedom with this job. Like we do have meetings and we go over stuff, but basically it's like, okay, get this done. After that, we go over stuff, and then we all have our plans of action, and that's how most businesses should run. But for some reason, well, actually, because of profits, the insurance companies are micromanaging everything. So yeah.
Well, your experience is definitely a big plus. That it seems that it keeps on pushing you and motivating you to keep going forward and expanding as many businesses as you can. You've been in the field, but in various aspects of it, correct?
Yeah. So I mean, I've done repairs, I've done roofs, I've done framing, electrical. I never did HVAC, but I've done siding, windows. I've done full remodels, so drywall, insulation. Well, I usually get a plumber. I'm not good at plumbing either. Plumbing, HVAC, I'm not great at, but But knowing your strengths is one of the biggest things. You don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Right.
So getting really good at what you do is huge. And that's part of networking also. If you're an expert in what you do, it's going to show.
I am so glad that you touched on that, because after all, that is one of the main focus points of this life. Why is networking important? And let me just say, I've seen you in action. You're a social butterfly. You do a very good job, but why is it important?
Well, like I said earlier, networking, we all network. Like, whether you own a business or not, we all network. I mean, you have your guy that you go to the oil change for and you see all the time. Most of us have somebody that will do something extra for us. And guess what? When they do that, we're going to tell people about it usually. Unfortunately, they say that if you have a good experience, you're only going to tell 3 people. If you have a bad experience, you'll tell 20 people. That's why you see people, and well, sometimes all they do is bad reviews. And that's why if somebody puts a bad review, I look and see, okay, what is their history? Like for me, I have thousands of reviews online on Google. And if you look, I have maybe 5 that are 1 stars. The rest of them are 4 or 5 stars. And if there's if a restaurant or somebody drops the ball, but then they come and help me out and take care of it, I'm giving them 5 stars but I'm going to say it in the comment. I'm going to say, hey, by the way, this happened, but this is how they fixed it, and this is why I'm giving them 5 stars. There's nobody that can be perfect all the time. But we all network. Now, as far as business owners and salespeople and everything, networking is huge. Knowing people in the industry, as far as, hey, no other roofers in your area. Because guess what? Sometimes you're not going to be able to do something. If you're a small guy, team up with a few other guys that do great work. Go look and see their jobs. They see yours. You guys all do great work. You guys could work together. You guys, maybe you got 2 to 5 guys that they all have, they're the one salesman and they basically do everything. And then they have their crews, or they have, maybe they have a couple people, but there's always going to be time. Say you take a corporate trip, right? And everybody's gone. What do you do in those situations? Well, you should have somebody you can send out that you trust that can go look at stuff. And maybe they don't do everything, but maybe they go and say somebody's got missing shingles. They can do a tarp off, whatever. And if you give them the job, it doesn't matter. And then hopefully they give it back. Because I would rather take care of a client, and in the fact of they have an emergency and it's taken care of, than say, oh, just call somebody else. And that's really what I do. I mean, I had just the other day, when I got back to Mexico, I got that call from that guy. I got a call from a guy, and he needed help with somebody to do windows and siding, and he needed a subcontractor. And I said, well, I'm a GC. I have subs, so I sent him a few names, to help him out. And then hopefully in the future, I told him, hey, if you need any help with roofing, let me know. That's, as a GC, what we do is everything, and everything's subbed out. So, and he talked about subs, and I was like, well, chances are you wouldn't like my prices, but I'll hook you up with some people that might be able to work with you. And part of that, and they're a large company. I actually did a job, and they did the windows, and they did a really good job, but I think they're just short on labor pool right now. So teaming up with companies is a big thing. And then the other part of the networking in our industry is just making those connections. You want to connect with insurance agents. You want to connect with your realtors, your property managers, even property inspectors. I used to have a property inspector that anytime there was a roof that was questionable, he'd call me to come look at it. And we got a lot of work out of that. And the thing is he knew I could pull a hail report right away.
Mm-hmm.
So literally he'd send me the pictures. And if I needed to go look at it, I would. But most of the time we didn't need to. We'd pull a hail report and be like, hey, they had hail 6 months ago. And he'd connect me and we'd do the roof.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same thing with realtors. I don't like doing roofs when it's not insurance for realtors because they're always trying to get stuff done for free.
Mm-hmm.
Not free, but usually discounted. So you gotta know who you're working with these realtors. And one of the best ways to do that is get in a networking group. They're all over the country. BNI's one. I don't love them because you have to always bring leads. So if you're a smaller company not doing a ton of business, it doesn't work great. But if you're a large company, BNI is great. But there's other ones. And so you want to, I think you really want to get with a network group that has an exclusivity portion of it. So like BNI is one of those. You can only have one HVAC yet, one roofer, one this, one that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the fact is you don't want to be in a network group that literally you're going to have 20 roofers.
Right.
Now, typically that doesn't happen. Usually that's more like realtors and website guys and a few other like that. What else? Mortgage brokers, mortgage people, and also financial planners. Those are like the big ones that are like in everyone. Insurance agents, not property managers. I wish there was more in those, but they're usually pretty busy. They'll come to a group and then they rarely join.
Are you part of some of these groups?
So I'm still part of 4BR in Denver. They're based out of Colorado. They're expanding to other markets. They're exclusive. Okay. They have a point system, but it's not like you have to bring a lead every week, but they encourage points. But they want qualified. One of the things I had an issue with BNI was I get a lead and it was just, call this person. They didn't even know I was calling. They didn't know what I was calling for or anything else. Like, that's not a lead.
Right.
And on certain things in marketing, it's just like, well, I gave you a name and a number. Well, I could look that up on the phone book.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it's like some people own the house, some people don't, and all this other stuff. But, having qualified leads is a big thing. Mm-hmm. So building your network up of people that you know and trust. And sometimes your network is friends and family. I remember 2017, the hail hit in Denver. And I got a few from insurance agents and realtors, but most of it was because of people I knew, because I know so many people in the Denver metro area where it hit. And literally we were getting phone calls from certain people and they're like, I need an estimate. And I'm like, well, we don't do estimates because we deal with the insurance for that. Well, I need one because my insurance said, have they given you an estimate? Okay, well, this is how we do it. And if you can meet with people, you can usually overcome that.
Right.
Now, sometimes I need an estimate over the phone. Well, I need to come to your house and look at it and everything. As long as you can do that, that's fine. And if they were like, no, I have this, this, and this, I just would be like, well, I'm too busy for that. And I'd be like, I'm sorry, but right now, I have so many clients right now, I don't have time and the bandwidth to do that. Like, even huge companies, when you're in a huge storm, that's just literally you have so many fish jumping in the barrel, you really don't care about the pain in the butt ones. You're like,
right. You can filter them out.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. And in your opinion, what do you feel are the most important skills to have when it comes to, for success, when it comes to networking?
Be honest.
Honesty.
Put together a good pitch. Okay. So you need to know your product. Some people don't care, but real professionals do. If you go meet with an insurance agent or a realtor and stuff like that, now, let me clarify that. Realtors that have been around a long time, they know their stuff. Around the country, there's a lot of people that are becoming realtors and stuff. And no offense, but they don't know what they're doing. And they just want the easiest way to do stuff. My dad was a realtor, and he just made stuff happen. I learned a lot of my work ethic from my dad and my grandfather. They made stuff happen. Like, they own their businesses and they had employees, but guess what? If they had to get their hands dirty, they did. And I do the same thing with our businesses as well. So being honest And one of the other things is having that great pitch. I put together. Fortunately, haven't had hail in 2 years, so I haven't done it. But I put together a good video with multiple people that I had worked with in the past, and I think that's huge. Originally, I was working with a company, and they never made it happen. And then I had another person that I had actually networked with a business called Certus. That was their networking group, and we actually made the video with her because I reached out to all these people, and she came up with a great idea. Why don't you just, you have your office, you have an office, right? Yes. And you have a space where you can video. Yes. Okay. So why don't you just invite all the clients that you like and they like you? Usually you're going to know that not everybody are you going to get along with on your clients.
Right.
And you can do everything you can to please them. And some people they're not happy people, no matter what. Like literally they could get $1 million and they would have an issue with the fact that they had to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Not the fact that, I still got a lot of money and not had to do anything for it. But, so we put together, we did barbecue and we invited all these people that we had worked with, and we had them over and we did a pitch video. With this business, with Title Law Solutions, it'd be a little more difficult because we're dealing with people all over the country. So that's where it's kind of like interviews and stuff like that. But as far as when you're working in a set location, say you're in Dallas or Denver or wherever you're at, that's your market, and you have a list of clients that know you, like you, trust you. That's the type of people that you want. And then you can have leading questions and stuff like that when you do that. Like, how was your experience? Blah, blah, blah. And you kind of pitch them up and you get them so they know what's up. And you kind of go over it ahead of time. So what are you going to say? And a lot of times you're going to know the people that aren't camera shy and everything. Also, the one thing you need to do is you need to have a waiver that they sign. So that way, if in the future they get mad at you for something, like they got a leak and it had nothing to do with you, they can't come back and be like, why are you using my information? Right. No, you want that. So guess what? They can't do nothing.
Protect yourself.
You signed this, so let's go to court, and you're going to lose. Not trying to be that guy, but unfortunately in this sue happy environment we are in the U.S., it's become you have to protect all your assets on everything.
Right.
So.
That's just being irrational, sounds like. Okay. Well, we're almost out of time, but I cannot end this live without asking, what are you doing this weekend?
I am going to Tijuana and then over to Rosarito, which is, I guess, right next to it. I guess it's kind of part of Tijuana. I don't know. Maybe it's part of the metro area or whatever. And I'm going to Baja Fest, which is a reggaeton festival. There's about 30 artists, including Becky G, Carol G, J Balvin. Those are probably big names that most people, that follow any of that know. So yeah, that's what I'm doing this weekend.
And the reason why I ask is because most of you that know Jason know that this man you are a light in a room. Seriously. He loves music, loves dancing, and I am so happy that you're going to have an amazing time this weekend.
Yes.
And obviously, thank you for giving us the time of your day to answer so many questions. It was quite a lot to ask, but thank you so much for answering them. And before we go, obviously, if you need any help with your estimates or supplements, you can give us a call, or you can always text us at 720-296-6618, or you can email Jason at jason@furtadolaw.solutions. And we'll see you next week.
All right.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.